to episode 178 of the Campus Comics Cast, where we ask the deep questions like, what is the candy bar Gus is eating that earns him the name Sweet Tooth? My name is Scott Carmelo Reed, and I am joined on this episode by...
Mike Butterfinger Atchison.
And Shaad Fast Break Schubert.
And we will be discussing Volume 1 of Sweet Tooth by Jeff Lemire, talking about some recent comic books that we have been reading, embarrass one or more of ourselves as we try some trivia, and of course have a CLZ shake. But first, hot take, am I the only one that has seen Madam Web?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so I kept my streak alive. I have seen all of the Marvel and DC superhero movies on opening night, all the way back to the second Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man 2. I could not find anybody to go to the show with me. So that's the last one that I did not see on opening night. So I kept that streak alive with Madam Web. I almost didn't because the reviews were so terrible. I don't normally see reviews, and just like in my Facebook feed, this popped up that day, like how bad this movie was. So I went into this expecting it to be Aquaman bad, and I actually would watch this again before I would watch Aquaman. So I don't know if that says something about how low my expectations were or how bad I think Aquaman is. But they did try
I
to
think it's a bias against Aquaman. I'm here to advocate for Aquaman.
Oh, okay.
I think he's had enough of this persecution.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen Aquaman 2, Mike?
No.
So you don't even like it enough to go see it?
No. I'm his attorney. I'm not his fan.
Oh, okay. Oh, but anyway, so I don't think it's as bad as the reviews put out to be. There are these three younger female characters that really are quite annoying in the whole thing. So if it was just kind of more focus on, what is it, Dakota Johnson, and then they do tie it into Spider-Man's origins as well, because Ben Parker is being played by Adam Scott. Mm-hmm. So he's it as well. So it does have some nice little touches there. It does suffer from the random power given to the main character at the end of the movie, which I just absolutely hate. Sony keeps doing this. They did it with Morbius. They're doing it here with Madam Web. And then Marvel's kind of done that as well, like at the end of Echo. But I don't know. Other than that, it could have been worse. It could have been better, but it absolutely could have been worse. So there you go. Don't go see it because you heard the reviews were terrible. If you're not going to see it just because it's a Sony thing, and there may not be any more Sony movies. Craven has been put off until the end of the year. Yeah. So the whole Sony, comic book universe is kind of up in the air, I think, because Craven was supposed to be out before this one, and now it's several months away. So who knows if it'll even see the light of day. So it may be one of those cases where it's cheaper for them not to release it than to release it and have to advertise for it and lose more money. So
I just feel like go ahead, Shaad.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it feels like this is a time where we need, whether strategically or not, we need some sort of break from comic book movies to be able to open up the opportunity for renaissance, of bringing back and coming back strong, whether it be, Marvel with the spotlights and or James Gunn's DC. It's almost like we need a year or two off.
Well, Marvel only has one movie this year, and that's Deadpool.
Yeah.
Which is not really, in my opinion, an MCU movie. So we're getting an entire year off from the MCU, and the Sonyverse Marvel stuff doesn't really count. So we're not really having a Marvel cinematic movie until 2025.
Is the Deadpool movies with Wolverine though?
Yes, but remember, that's from the predates the modern MCU Wolverine, not the modern MCU Wolverine. So we may see, who is going to be Wolverine moving forward in this movie, but it's not going to be Hugh Jackman, moving forward.
Right.
It would just really be like multiverse stuff. So the X-Men are only from the X-Men movies, and the Wolverine movies are only tied to the modern MCU through the multiverse, not through the 616 universe or however they want to designate it on the movie side. So
yeah.
So yeah, we may be getting that palate cleanse here because Deadpool's not going to take itself too seriously if you've seen the trailer.
Yeah.
Which I guess we should talk about. Have you guys seen the trailer for Deadpool?
No.
No. Okay, you need to watch the trailer.
Okay. Hey, I'm surprised it hasn't come up on my feed in any of the social medias. So I'll have to look it up.
During the Super Bowl, so I didn't. Of course, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I saw it after.
I stepped away for a while, so I didn't see that. Yeah.
So yeah,
I just watched Usher.
There you
go. But I had one thing I was going to say, and now I have forgotten what that thing was. So we're just going to move on to Sweet Tooth. So
before that, did you see the casting for Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So they lead it, Shaad.
Oh gosh, I didn't have it pulled up. I wasn't that ready. I just want to know if you'd seen it. Did you like the idea?
Yeah.
Who we have? Oh gosh, what's his name now?
Pedro Pascal.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I had heard there were hints of him dropped in the last several weeks. The rest of them, I don't know much about. I know the names a little bit, but.
So I think the one that has the most buzz concerning it is, and I'm trying to pull up his name, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, because he is the headbanger from Stranger Things.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, he looked familiar, but I couldn't figure out from where. Yeah.
Yeah. So
short hair.
I didn't recognize his name either. So so here's the casting. You have Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Eben Moss Bachrach, and Joseph Quinn. Now, I believe Eben Moss Bachrach, I don't know, I'm butchering his last name. He's already been part of the MCU because he was the Punisher's sidekick in the Punisher series, and I had forgotten his nickname. Oh, that's bugging me all of a sudden. So
yeah, he was. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess the one that I knew nothing of was this Vanessa Kirby. So I don't know who, I really don't know who she is. So, man, why can I not come up with that character's name from the Punisher? So, a part of me is like, should we have kept Krasinski? But, he was pretty bland in Multiverse of Madness as the character.
Yeah. He had the look, but he didn't have it didn't resonate as much, I don't think.
And Pedro Pascal has such he can give you so many different varieties of things. Yeah. I'm excited to see him do that.
He's an excellent actor, yeah.
Of course, but sometimes Pedro Pascal, his ups are pretty up and his downs are really, really down. I mean, when you think about Wonder Woman 84, it's like
that was more of a director issue and a story issue than.
And then, like, what was it? The Unbearable Weight of talent.
Being.
Yeah.
Are you gonna say something bad about that movie, Scott?
Well, he wasn't great in that. So.
He was fantastic in that movie.
Think so? Okay.
Oh, I did, yeah.
All right, Microchip. That's the name I could come up with.
I just found it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, apologies then. So.
I just rewatched that movie and was like, this movie is so fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. But then of course you have like Mandalorian, and he's really good in that, and so I
And I think that Eben, whatever guy that's playing the thing that's a great casting. I don't know him from anything else but The Bear. He's great in The Bear, and I think that shows his like ability to be kind of a kind of brute of a guy with a little bit of a hothead.
Well, he's going to have the whole CGI on his side anyway, So.
Yeah, but just the way he carries himself, I think the way he voices will be good.
But he was good in The Punisher. There was something else that I saw him in, and I cannot, off the top of my head, remember what it is. So I'm going to jump over to IMDb and look that up while you guys continue talking.
And as far as the guy from Stranger Things playing Johnny Storm, I feel like I I don't know him from anything else. I don't have a good judge, so I don't know. Maybe there are people who have seen him in other things, but you can't just judge him off of the Stranger Things role. But
he was great in Stranger Things. He really was.
Okay, he was in only one episode of Fringe. I was looking for things that I maybe would have seen him in. He's in an episode of Fringe. He was in Andor Andor. That's it. 3 episodes of Andor. That's the other thing I saw him in recently. So
that's right.
Mm-hmm. So I knew there was something else that he had been in. So I'm of the casting, he's actually the one I'm most excited about. So
I think so too. Yeah, I agree.
So I think there's really good promise for.
And when is that? That's not until what, 26,
26 probably. I think they put out a roadmap and they had actually flipped some dates. I'm gonna see if there's
they did. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if there happens to be an easy to find release schedule.
And we're talking about movie gaps. The DC movies we essentially get a year off from DC as well, right? Because we don't have anything else coming out this year.
25,
and then 25 is supposedly Superman.
Yeah. I think they also announced a Teen Titans movie too, is on the slate. That was a new. Now, how accurate that is, I don't know. Now I was just looking at this Stranger Things. Jonathan Quinn is not the same one as I remembered being. The older brother and the kind of a long-haired guy.
No,
that's a different character.
Yeah.
Different character, yeah.
Okay. That's not who I was thinking of. Yeah. I didn't watch more
This is in the most recent season. He ran the D&D campaign and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
So we've got Captain America February of 25. We have Thunderbolts May of 25. Then they have currently Fantastic Four July of 25.
Oh wow!
Okay. Oh wow! And also we're going from there's not anything in 20. Okay, something's so just moved. Yeah. So they almost have to. 4 is too many because they have Blade listed as 25 as well. So I don't know. Let me check to see if there's a date on when this list was released. So
I feel like Thunderbolt. 15th. We didn't we lose half the actors and the director for Thunderbolts not too long ago? They might have some making up to do.
So I'm not for sure, but maybe.
Perhaps.
So all right.
And
so
I wouldn't be surprised if Sony takes a break and then comes back with, aren't they planning a Miles Morales Spider-Man, or has that been officially announced at all?
Not that I've heard, but I've not listened for anything like that.
Okay.
And Sony is having so much more success with the animated Spider-Verse stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be nice to do something besides Peter Parker for a time. So as long as they don't immediately dive into, we got to do multiverse again because that worked for Spider-Verse. So
yeah, it worked so great. Yeah.
Yeah, it works really great for that.
It worked for a cartoon, but I don't know if it's live action.
Well, I mean. I've not been super excited about any of the multiverse live action stuff. So, all right.
Now Sweet Tooth, I think.
Now Sweet Tooth. All right. So I don't know who's in at large and in charge of our discussion of Sweet Tooth. I don't know how to do this. So.
Okay, I'll take charge. So we're covering today Sweet Tooth Volume 1, titled Out of the Woods. This is written story and art by Jeff Lemire, colors by, I'm going to mess up his name, Jose Villarrubia. Jose V, we'll say. And then Pat Broso. Our letters. Yeah, I'm horrible at pronouncing names. So we're going to cover the first volume. I will read the synopsis for issue 1, and then we can kind of pass around from there. So issue 1, Gus, a young boy with deer-like features, lives a quiet life deep in the woods with his father. He learns many things from medical care to religious philosophy. Though he loves his religious father, he yearns to escape as he learns that there is not fire past the trees, but simply more land. Sometime after Gus's father passes away from an illness, 2 men come to kidnap him. They are slain by a drifter named Jeopard.
Okay, so we are supposed to presume that Gus's father here dies from the sick, right? Is that what we're supposed to presume? So, part of it that's going on is at the appearance of the hybrids, there's this sickness that started. That's why this is kind of a post-apocalyptic story. There's this sickness that kind of affected and killed a good portion of the planet, we assume. And we also, well, I guess I'm jumping ahead a little bit when we talk about what happens. We talked about Gus's father passing away. Mm-hmm. So we see Gus burying his father next to another grave that's already there, which I guess we're supposed to presume is his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, however, I mean, this is, I guess, too much of what I remember, because I read Sweet Tooth a long time ago, and then I watched the Netflix series, and so much has been altered between the comic and the Netflix series, which is, and it really feels like there was more altered than what I remembered being altered. So
see, when I was reading this, I mean, I watched the Netflix series as far as it went. I don't know, did it go just one season so far?
Season 2's out. Season 3 there is announced or is shooting or is getting ready to be released, I think.
So I had heard from either you guys or someone else that the TV show kind of veered quite a bit from the story, but I didn't find that to be the case so much. I felt like the main through line of the story, that you got this kid with the deer-like features, and he's being raised by his father who's lost the mother. The mother's died in the past, but we get all this through references to by the father and the son, from the son's perspective, that it was very religious and very didn't want the outside to ever find them. Even when you get into Jeopard coming in, the only difference was in the TV show, Jeopard was a black retired football player and not a white hockey player. So now maybe later on it's going to diverge even more.
Well, I think they shuffle the deck quite a bit. Like they put things in different order. I think that's the biggest thing in the show. Is like they explain the sick and they give you that whole beginning part with the doctor, and kind of setting everything up. Whereas this kind of presents it as a mystery as to what's happening.
Yeah,
I think that seems to be one of the bigger things.
Yeah.
Well, I think another part of it is that Gus's father is not telling him all these things, I guess he is telling him to scare him, but it's ultimately to protect him, because he knows if Gus goes out into the world, then what happens to Gus is what is going to happen. So he's basically trying to scare him into staying hidden, as opposed to, them just traveling around and again, what ultimately happens to Gus here would have happened to him.
And I thought Lemire did a great job in presenting that idea through his art. If you look on one of the early pages of the very first issue, when Gus is talking about there's nothing, his dad told him there's nothing past the trees, nothing past the woods. It's everything he needs is right in here. And it's the way that art presents those trees is like almost a cage, or you can't get past it. I thought that was really well done by Lemire in the art. And of course,
they're very much a wall.
Yeah. It's like on page 10, I think here. I get a kick out of Gus's kind of country bad grammar. It's not like Jonah Hex, Western, Southern slang. It's more like he just kind of has bad grammar that he never really learned from anyone other than his dad.
It's just uneducated a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he did go to school.
I do like that too.
So. But I mean, there's other things like in the TV series, his mother's not buried with him.
No.
And I'm trying to remember if in the TV series, Gus refers to him as his father or not. Do you remember? Or is he just the guy taking care of him in the TV?
Seems like he was his father, yeah.
Okay. I think he calls him father, yeah.
Okay. All right. I couldn't remember that part of it, because, here in this, you're supposed to assume that the woman buried in the other grave is Gus's biological mother and that they were married, but that's definitely not the case in the TV series. So,
right.
And I don't know if she is at all in the story.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
Okay. I don't remember how much of this I've actually read. I don't remember if I've got past the second volume, if I made it to the fourth volume. I know I never finished it, but I feel like I've read this once before, and I'm trying to remember if I read how many volumes I read before, and I just don't remember.
I gotcha. I have read it all, and then I read the spinoff that they did. Or not the spinoff, but the sequel, The Return. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is wild. It gets real
weird. It's all about the
in the
future.
Return.
It's like 300 years in the future, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a lot of like clones and
gosh.
Living everything's underground. They don't even go up to the surface anymore, and yeah, it's a very cyclical story, if I remember right. Like it just kind of allows the entire thing to start over again.
Okay.
And even from like to just if I remember right, I think it just kicks it off to where like the return could happen again and again and again and again, and that this story could happen again and again. It just like lets it become that kind of situation.
All right.
Issue 2?
Go? Yeah.
Go ahead,
Scott?
Mike.
Okay. Issue 2, Gus tries to flee, but the big man tracks him back to the cabin and learns Gus's parents are dead and Gus is 9 years old, which is seemingly impossible because, quote unquote, the sick started about 7 years back, before the first appearance of hybrids like Gus. Jeopard, who then promises to take Gus to a sanctuary for hybrids called the Preserve. Lonely, Gus goes with him. Along the way, we learn the hybrids are immune to the sick. Hybrid cultists almost kill Jeopard, but he saves Gus. Yeah.
I keep coming back to comparing this with the TV series, which I don't know, part of me hates the fact that I'm doing this. But one of the things that was different about Jeopard was, and actually this to me is the biggest difference, is in the TV show, Jeopard is always, I guess I shouldn't say always, but pretty much a good guy. And here we learn that Jeopard starts off really as a bad guy.
Yeah.
But he had these redeeming reasons. I mean, I don't say it's a good thing what he did, but he had a reason for betraying Gus. It was I think, a heartfelt thing, as bad as it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I agree with the difference between the TV Jeopard and the comic Jeopard.
Yeah, he's immediately set up as, even in Gus's eyes, is like he's a good man that does bad things. Like he's just he kind of is like, Gus is trying to kind of figure out the waters of morality with Jeopard, and like because he only knows his dad being like this good guy. He doesn't know that there can be this challenge in life of good and bad.
And he's so innocent in the way he says things. Like, I know it's getting ahead to the next issue, I think, but he'll say something where he says, "Yeah, I made up my mind. I seen what you did. You're a good man.
Yeah.
You're a good guy."
Yeah.
Like, as if Jeopard needed to hear it or whatever. But I liked how that was done.
All right, issue 3.
Yeah.
All right, so Gus takes the wounded Jeopard on a horse to a nearby abandoned barn where Gus is able to nurse Jeopard back to health. Sweet Tooth then earns his nickname by eating all of Jeopard's candy and food stash, though he had gained more food while Jeopard recovered. After finding a dead boy in a house by the barn, Gus is intrigued by a bandy/dandy book that is found in the dead boy's hand and takes it as his own. It appears that the combination of the dandy book and too much candy leads Gus to have these vision nightmares warning him against going to the sanctuary.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that becomes sort of at least in the next couple of issues, a theme where he gets these, predicting, or what's the word he used?
Visions.
Visions, of possible futures and warnings and stuff. But it is funny to see Bambi/Dandy, which is Dandy's meant to be Bambi, just avoiding copyright infringement
Right.
and a lawsuit from Disney, but and Thumper, and it's interesting. And I mean, they're so seeing how a boy like Gus walks into, at this point, I think he was out looking for food because Jeopard was incapacitated and needed to be, was healing up, and he goes and looks for food and he finds this dead boy in bed, and it's probably a boy about his age. And I mean, you talk about going from a life of seclusion and not seeing anything of the wider world to seeing everything one day, every day there's something new. And it's traumatic in a lot of ways, thinking even if you were prepared, but it's interesting. A lot of these little moments make this whole story very interesting.
Okay. Mike, are you in the digital version of this?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so I want you to go to page 6 of the digital version. That's the scene you were just talking about where he finds the dead boy in his bed. Okay, and there's a poster on the wall of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the little nightstand, on the bottom of the nightstand, there are 2 action figures / dolls. And the one on the right is clearly Batman. Who is the one on the left supposed to be? Is that a DC character that I'm just not recognizing, or do you think it's just a generic doll?
Well, I see. That looks like the Flash.
A robot.
You think it's the Flash? I figured it'd be more of a lightning bolt, though.
Oh yeah, maybe it is a robot. I don't know. It's zooming
the Flash
in.
is a really good guess, though.
I mean, it's got that cowl, the red costume or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it would be more Iron Man because of the circle to me than it would be the Flash.
Yeah.
But then they can't say Iron Man, obviously. Okay, I just wonder if that was some DC hero, since it was there by Batman, that I was just overlooking.
It looks like the robot in Invincible. That's who I thought immediately.
I think it's that very rarely heard of character, the Iron Flash.
There you go. Okay. Okay, now, Shaad, this is probably more a question for you.
Okay.
So at the end of that vision, which is on page 12, okay, he's there. He has like these dog men that are chasing him, and there's this person on a horse with the bright red eyes. Is that a character we're going to see later on, or is that just for this purpose of this nightmare?
Well, I was thinking about that, and I was like, oh, they already kind of had, because those dog creatures do show up and are part of the bad guys later on, like later on. And so I was thinking, I wonder, I was trying to remember, I thought that the main kind of villain of the whole story was bald, and this guy has white hair. So I was like, well, is that who I think it is, or is this someone else and it's just a vision? So I would have to keep reading to verify that. But
okay, I just seen
those creatures do absolutely show up later on, and are used for bad. So I was thinking, oh, did we already have a vision of our main villain like 20 issues before he even shows up? And that might be the case.
See, I had taken, so I must not have read that far then, because I had taken these hybrid dogs to be a reflection of the hybrids that attacked them previously. So not that they would actually show up later on. So
I think so. I don't think I'm misremembering that. Because there are hybrids that are used against Gus at certain point for sure.
Shaad, back to you 4.
All right. In what appeared to be an abandoned town, the duo rescues several women from a prostitution ring. The women saved by them warn Gus that there is no preserve, making Gus very suspicious. I do like that. Yeah. I like that these some of these issues are kind of one-offs. Like, you don't always get that to where like you could hand somebody an issue and be like, this is a really good issue of something, and it kind of has a one encompassed story in it, though it does have the through line of the journey. I don't feel like we always get that when we get a series like this, and
it feels very episodic.
Yeah, and that felt good. Like this issue specifically was like, not that it felt good because it was kind of a horrible issue as far as like what was going on. But like they show up to a town, they see somebody, they think that it is another hybrid because there's a woman with bunny ears, and then they find out no, they get trapped by these people who run that prostitution ring, and there's this husband and wife that are horrible, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I thought, well, this is a very encompassed issue, and I really liked it.
And that's why I think it was so. It's kind of a short synopsis because really they find the prostitution ring, they get kind of caught up by the leaders, the man and the woman, the husband and wife team, and they convince them. Jeopard convinced them it'd be in their best interest to let them go. They do, but of course, Gus convinces Jeopard, look, you can't leave those poor women back there, and Jeopard goes back and does the heroic thing. Yeah. And turns out that the women, they're like, well, they don't want to leave because there's nothing else to go to.
Yeah.
But at least he put them in control of their own destiny.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
It was good.
Mike, you want to take issue 5? Or you want
me to can. Okay. I don't know what the rotation is, but is it me?
Yep.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, issue 5. The pair run into a roadblock, and although they get away, they lose their mount to gunfire. Sweet Tooth is injured and carried a good portion of the way to their destination, the supposed preserve. Ultimately, Jeopard betrays Gus to a horrific scientific facility in return for the remains of his wife.
Okay, so at this point, though, we don't know what is actually inside of that duffel bag, correct?
That's right, we do not.
Okay,
right.
All right. So, spoiler, it is the remains of his wife? Just making sure that it's not...
It's an orange duffel bag.
It's an orange duffel bag, right? A large orange duffel bag. Though, I guess it would almost have to be, if it is remains, bone remains, as opposed to,
Yeah. That's true. At the end of it, you don't know what's in there. I just kind of forgot what I knew from reading on because I read the first 2 volumes. But yeah, it's a good. I mean, it definitely it makes you want to come back and read more. It did what a good ending to a first volume should do. Is like, okay, now I got to find out what the heck did he just trade this kid for?
Right.
And yeah, it was very well done, the execution.
Now, this first series was 40 issues. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, 40, so it's 8. Yeah, so it's 8 5-issue volumes. Okay, all right.
And then
I knew it wasn't
5-issue. The return is 5 issues, I think, also. So I think there's a total of 45 issues.
Oh, okay. I thought the return was longer than that. So, but you're probably right.
Maybe not. Who knows?
I have it. I haven't read it, but I have it. So.
I guess I didn't even know that was coming out. That was like a couple years ago, right?
It's been a few, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, we talked about it on a previews episode. So.
Did we? Oh boy. Okay.
I'm sure Shaad would have mentioned it, on a previous episode. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we want to. I don't know. Any other thoughts or comments on this?
Well, I mean. Go ahead, Scott or Shaad.
All I was gonna say, my only main comment is, outside of I'm a giant Jeff Lemire fan. In general, I think I'm cutting in and out maybe.
No, your audio's fine.
Okay, good. The just being, I love it when he draws and writes his own stuff together. What I did find though is I've been reading so much stuff that he watercolors himself. Coming back to a book where he is not his own colorist, I so much enjoy somebody else coloring his stuff, maybe even better than his watercolored stuff that he does himself.
Yeah, I enjoyed this enough. Like I alluded to earlier, I went on and read the next volume because it was absolutely. I had to see what happened after Gus was traded in, and for a duffel bag. So it gets better. I think the entire story, and I'm going to keep reading all the way through to the end. Yeah, and you're right, Shaad, about Lemire's work whenever he does both the writing and the art. It's amazing. I can't say I'm in a vacuum that I love his art, but when he tells a story like not many people can tell. And I'm a big fan. Yeah. I'd put this above the Black Hammer universe stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, like with regards to his art, I like it, but I wouldn't want it to be on Captain America. I mean, that's.
Oh, no. Yeah, this definitely has it's got its theme, or it's got its area where it works, and where it won't work on necessarily superhero stuff. Yeah.
It's kind of stylized, right?
I'm not gonna say it. You said it, not me.
You said it. You said it. Not us.
I've tried to stop saying it. So, but I mean, you got to remember this was at DC at the time of Vertigo, right? So
right.
This is, so it's
that's what amazes me. I couldn't believe when I seen that it was all the way back in 2009. This came out. I cannot believe that.
All right, so grades.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first? I haven't graded it yet. I guess I got to come up with that. So
I'm going to give it an 8.5. Easy 8.5. That's a very fine plus, is it?
8.5. Yeah, very fine plus. Yep. Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and go. I teeter-tottered on this one. I'm going to go a 9.6, a near mint plus. This is a book
that I recommend
I recommend it to everyone. I love this series. And Jeff Lemire is number one favorite creator of mine. I may even surpass Neil Gaiman as far as a creator for me. And so I 9.6.
9.6.
Well, I'm gonna go with very fine minus, which is a 7.5. Just because of the fact that I don't have this in my personal collection. I've had it come across. I have it up for sale on eBay, the entire series right now. So it would be trivial. So it would be trivial for me to just like pull this and say, I love this so much that I want to keep it. And but it is in that category of books that I would strongly recommend to somebody else that they read it, especially somebody who wants to read something besides superheroes. So I think that's so to me, don't forget that 7.5 is a very strong rating for me.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not one that's ever read any Walking Dead. So if you guys have, how does this compare to Walking Dead as a post-apocalyptic story?
I'll let you go first, Shaad. Unless you want me to go first.
They're very different. I think this story has a lot of heart and also has a lot of kind of reasoning. You find out explanations for things. And it's not as much about the fight as it is the survival of like this one character, where it's Walking Dead, though of course Rick Grimes is kind of your center, that becomes a very group oriented thing. But they're both post-apocalyptic kind of road travel stories in that same way. But yeah, I put them in two different categories because one gives me a warm fuzzy feeling and the other one does not. Though I love them both a lot. I don't know why.
All right.
Well, I'll be more definitive than Shaad is on this. Sweet Tooth is head and shoulders better than The Walking Dead. Because this Walking Dead is 100% derivative. It is 28 Days Later meets Jericho. Both of those things predated The Walking Dead. So it's just a matter of Kirkman taking other people's ideas and kind of doing something with them. And while it was okay, he did not, in my opinion, have a long-term plan like what Lemire had for Sweet Tooth. So there are lots of points where Walking Dead just stagnates, and for a while I read Walking Dead all the way up to issue 100, and it got to be just purely about, sometimes with Walking Dead, just the violence. I mean, when you have like multiple pages of just, spoiler, Glenn getting his head bashed in with Lucille, right? That was just over the top unnecessary. It's like they didn't know what else to fill the book with.
Yeah.
So this is dramatically better than The Walking Dead, in story and content and the whole works.
Okay, that's fair.
All right. So what we got next? Oh, what we've been reading, right?
Yeah.
WWBR.
Yeah. So because we all, I think, made fairly lengthy lists of things that we've been reading previously and then never ever got back to finishing it off, we thought we'd just kind of spread this out, talk about a couple of things in some, our episodes as we, get through them. So Mike, would you like to go first on something that you've been reading recently?
I would love to, but I need to know what I should limit myself to, because I have a few things, and I know that last time we kind of were.
Well, I would say 2 or 3.
2 or 3. Okay, we'll
2
go
or 3.
All right.
You talk about one now. We'll round robin, each talk about one, and then we'll see how we're doing on time if we want to do a third one. So pick your top 2, and then you can always come up with a third one if you want.
All right. So I've been putting off reading this series since it came out. When Milestone, Earth M came out a couple years ago, or at least a year and a half ago, I bought a lot of those comics, and most of them were just really well written, well done. And this one is called Duo. I just got around to reading all 6 issues I had collected. And basically it's a couple. They're not married, but they're nanotech engineers, Dr. Kelly Vu and Dr. David Kim. And the only thing they're more committed to than each other is to develop these regenerative nanobots that will help save the world. But as per comic book storytelling, guidebooks say, you have to have an accident to give them powers. So there was a big accident. There was a violent attack, and these nanobots ended up saving them. But it was kind of like Martin Stein and Ronnie Raymond, where at first it appeared that David it was his body, and that Kelly was in the background in his consciousness. And they had these it was sort of hard to understand what the powers were, but they culminated, or they kind of showed, the power showed to be more, the nanobots could do a lot more than just heal. They could make weapons out of their hands. They could do a whole lot of things. That is the superpower part of it. It for 6 issues, I thought this was the most intriguing read I've had in a while about a new comic hero or heroes. It turns out that Kelly can take control of the body, and if either one of them stay out of control for too long, they sort of get absorbed into the other one's consciousness, which is scary, and that's very well described. And yeah, I wasn't expecting this to be this good. And I wish, normally I kind of like make a list of my favorite comics for a year, but I waited too long, after this came out to read it, to be able to say that. But even if you look up some reviews, you're going to hear the same thing. This was and is a good story. Highly recommended. Recommend it. I unfortunately, just the way the comics industry is, I don't know how many books it sold. So I don't know if we'll ever see these characters again, but I wish we would.
Well, you'll see them in like 15, 20 years when they need to do something with them to keep the license fresh.
Yeah, so. That might be, my license might be expired by then.
I remember when this was in previews, because I ordered, actually have like, 4 copies of this Duo #1 sitting in a pile just in case, so
read it.
I'm glad to hear it was at least good. So.
Yeah. Okay, next up.
Shaad, go ahead.
Okay. I read it was a 5-issue miniseries called Daisy. It came out from Dark Horse. It's about a mom who's trying to find her missing son, and it leads her into this family that's like has this cult that's kind of led by this Daisy Phillips, who is a teenager but is about 8 foot tall and believes herself to be the descendants of these cannibalistic giants that are spawned from the outcasts of heaven. So it was a pretty wild kind of thing about this, like I said, Christian cult, and then they actually turn out to be tied to the lineage of the Christian God, and there's giants and angels and resurrections and all kinds of crazy stuff in it. In the first issue, the mom gets shot and dies, and then is resurrected in the second issue. Like, it's just kind of like this wild thing. Really, the only big complaint I kind of had to it was that it had so many ideas that it almost seemed too big for a 5-issue miniseries, that they didn't get to kind of flush everything out. So I do hope that maybe somebody gives Colin Lemire, who was the artist and writer on it, and I don't know that he's done much else. I kind of looked him up because I did enjoy it so much, and there wasn't anything big too that he's done, and maybe one other indie book that he had done. But I hope that he gets a chance to expand on this idea of Daisy, because it was like I said, it was good, but it was just a little too big for 5 issues. They really need some more time to flush it out.
Okay.
Well, the first thing, I just read this night before last, so this is actually a fairly recent read for me, and this is a book called Ragnarok: Last God Standing by Walter Simonson. And of course, Walt Simonson is a well-known creator. He had extensive runs on Fantastic Four and like X Factor, I think, but one of his better known runs is on Thor. Mm-hmm. Where he's the creator who introduced Beta Ray Bill. He did writing and art duties on that series. So now apparently he has a real strong affinity for Norse mythology, because here he has he's tackling the concept of like, okay, so what's the planet like after Ragnarok? So, which is the basically the final battle for the Norse gods. And we see like some of the dark elves, and even Thor makes an appearance, and he's one of the main characters post Ragnarok through, these certain events that occur. So I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail about the story, but you've got Walt Simonson writing and story, and anybody who is a fan of his work at Marvel, whether it be Thor or Fantastic Four, if you're a Walt Simonson fan, here you kind of have his own take on Norse mythology, and probably a closer to mythologically accurate Thor, as opposed to the superhero version of Thor that we get on the Marvel Comics side. So I've already put volume 2. There's 2 volumes. They're available on, formerly Comixology.
Yeah.
Now it's just Kindle.
Amazon and Kindle, yeah.
Yeah, so the first 2 volumes are available in the Comixology Unlimited, so.
Oh, okay. And that makes it nice if it's on Unlimited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I will probably be reading the second volume, probably start it this evening.
All right. Well, my next pick is Brave and the Bold number 31, The Atom and the Joker by J. Michael Straczynski and Chad Hardin. This is from 2010. That series that would have been like volume 3 of Brave and the Bold. And I've been off and on picking issues out of that run just because so many of them are good. And, once in a while you see a cover and you're like, and you see the characters that are teaming up, or I say quote unquote teaming up because it wasn't really a team up, but you're like, okay, I've got to see exactly how they can make a story out of the Atom and the Joker, who are about as far apart as you can get. So basically the Atom he's recruited by scientists or doctors to go into the Joker's mind to cure him of a rare disease. So the Joker's got this, debilitating condition. And of course, when they recruit the Atom, knowing that he could inject his brain at a very microscopic level, the Atom, Ray Palmer, was very blunt about, well, what's to stop me from doing, quote unquote, accidentally, stepping on his brain cells and killing them. And they're like, well, nothing. But, he, of course, he doesn't stick to that idea. But eventually he does go all the way into the Joker's memories, and these memories sort of infect the Atom as well. And it was kind of a weird experience for him in that he almost was, his own mind was affected by the Joker's depraved brain. So it was an interesting story. It's not probably the best in the whole run at all, but again, if you're looking for something different, this one was different. We're back to Shaad.
Yeah. In Jeff Lemire fashion, since we already talked about some Jeff Lemire, I'm currently caught up with Fish Flies, and we're at the halfway point, which is Jeff Lemire's once again doing double duty plus coloring. So I guess he's doing triple duty. This is a watercolored book that he's putting out through Image. It was originally something that he was putting out through Substack, and so this is the published printed version of it. And so Fish Flies is a story about this town, specifically this guy accidentally, he's robbing a convenience store and accidentally kills a kid, or doesn't kill him, injures a kid by shooting him while the convenience store is being held up. And then is a runaway and ends up turning into a giant fish fly. I don't know if you guys know what fish flies are. But or mayfly, I guess they're also called. But
they have the shortest lifespan of any animal on the planet.
Yes. And this story is kind of like is near and dear to me only because the town in Wisconsin that my dad is from has a festival every year, and I went to it when I was a kid, and they have so many fish flies there that were just like dead and piled up underneath the lights of this, like of where it was up, and just the smell of it and everything, because it's all right on the river, right on the Mississippi. And just like, it was just this, like, you could not believe the piles of these flies that are just there on the ground. So there are a lot of imagery that's like this, because Jeff Lemire is from Canada, and Wisconsin's obviously close to that. So they're dealing with the same piles of fish flies all the time. And so the imagery is just like, oh, I've seen that. I know exactly what that looks like. And so it's this guy, for some reason we don't know yet, turns into this giant fish fly. And this girl that lives on the farm that he stowed away at befriends him, and they are kind of go on adventures while he's running away from the police. It's very, very weird, and a lot of mystery still at the halfway point as to why he is like this, what's going to happen, are the cops going to find him, what's going on with the kid that's in the hospital that he injured, what's going on with the fish flies. But it is a really cool kind of mystery that reminds me of, it definitely has a Royal City kind of vibe if you've read Royal City and one of Jeff Lemire's other books. It kind of has that kind of mysterious loss and weird things happening in a small town kind of vibe.
Who put that out? Who put out Fish Flies? Was it Image or?
Image, yeah, it was Image book.
Okay. Sounds like we need to have more of a a Jeff Lemire, extravaganza sometime, kind of like what we do
with Tom King.
With Tom King.
That's right, yes.
Jeff Lemire, he's the new Tom King.
That's right.
Well, I blame most of the Tom King stuff on you, Mike. So
well,
you can blame.
You can do that. I'll
Jeff
take
Lemire,
credit.
Shad, and I'll take blame for Matt Kent. So there you go.
There you go. Yes.
We've all got it. So. All right.
Got our favorites.
I read from DC. Wesley Dodds, The Sandman, the 4-issue series, written by Robert Venditti, art by Riley Rossmo. So the premise of this is that while the Sandman was working on his sleeping gas, trying to find that perfect formula, he came up with some more, I guess, damaging versions of his sleep gas that would, kill and cause a lot of harm. So he had those secreted away in a journal. Well, the journal ends up being stolen. So he has to then go uncover who it is that stole his, these very deadly variations on his sleep gas. So it's a nice, it's kind of a self-contained 4-issue story. I have not read a lot by Robert Venditti. I know that there are some titles out there that I need to pick up at some point and read, like what was it? Like he had a Freedom Fighters run, I think that was really good.
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
And maybe Hawkman. He had a run on Hawkman.
He had a really good run on Hawkman, yeah.
And then I think he's the author of the original Surrogates, if I remember correctly.
I don't know about that one.
It was turned into a movie later on. But anyway, that part doesn't matter. But this was solid. I really enjoyed it. So it kind of brought back that Sandman Mystery Theater feel.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Not quite all the way to that level, but pretty close. And that was a series that I also really enjoyed, was the Sandman.
Yeah, Venditti's very versatile as far as writing a good story. I mean, I regret that they don't leave him on a title too terribly long, but he's out of those three. Was it 3 different Golden Age? You had the Flash, Green Lantern, and Sandman. What I've liked the best is the Sandman story, easily.
Do you guys want to do one more, or are you ready to move on to some trivia? You got something you're really anxious to talk about, Mike?
I do want to talk about this one. If I can.
Yes, you can. I'll allow it.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great. Let the record reflect that Scott has allowed it. I've been, for the Roadshow, I did some reading of House of Slaughter, and then to read that, I also wanted to read the prequel, which is Something is Killing the Children, both of them by James Tynion. But then I got to thinking, I've also seen this Nice House on the Lake, which was put out by not Boom, but DC. So I had access to a good, a free copy of it. It's 12-issue series. And let me tell you, this is some creepy horror ridden stuff. I think it's better than either one of those other 2 titles. It's basically, it's the apocalypse. We have a group of friends that are invited to stay at an old friend's summer home for an extended vacation. It's a beautiful house on the lake, as you might have gleaned.
Is it a nice one?
It's very nice, yes. And their kind of friend in common there is Walter. He put it all together. Not all of the friends, there's 10 of them, know each other, but they know of each other at least. So it's basically friends that he's selected over the years. He's been thinking about this for a decade or more, because guess what? Walter is, well, I don't want to say it. Maybe I shouldn't be spoiling this for you.
It's okay.
No.
If it's a big,
it's actually in my short stack to read right now.
Okay, so
I've also like,
so Walter has extreme ulterior motives, and the way this is presented, the art, the Tynion, his deftness at writing is really on display here. I'm telling you, I hadn't been this like creeped out for a long time about a book. Wow. So it's a 12-issue series. It's broken down into 2 different volumes, and man, I highly recommend it. So we'll leave it at that.
Huh. Good to know, because like I said, it's very on my short list of books to read. So
yeah, I'd be eager to hear your opinion.
I just added it to my to read list. So
okay,
along with Duo and Cull, so they're on there as well.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear. I mean, because sometimes I don't know. I'm my own opinion. I'm in a vacuum sometimes. I'm like, I don't know if it's really accurate or not. So I'd like to bounce it off you guys.
All right. Shaad, you got another one? You got another one you want to talk about?
Just real quick, I did read all of the Demon Days saga, the Demon Days and Demon Wars that Peach Momoko put out. I had only read like the first couple of issues before that, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and finish everything. So Demon Days tell the story of a character named Mariko, and kind of follows her origin, all wrapped up in Japanese folklore that is tied in with the Marvel universe. And you get versions of Scarlet Witch, you get versions of Hulk, Thor. There's a bunch of different people in there as well, and the X-Men. And it's a really nice, just kind of 5-issue. They're all one shots, but they're technically I don't know why they did that way.
Because number one's still better than number 2, 3, 4, and 5.
There you go. So I really enjoyed the Demon Days just kind of layout that way. And then so I went right into the Demon Wars, which is a 4-issue series that continues the story of Mariko, and it really kind of fell apart, the back half of that. So I was like, all right, Demon Days good. I swear by it. Demon Wars, not as much. It didn't feel very cohesive, and it felt like they asked Peach Momoko to continue writing the story, and she had no idea what she was doing. Like, it was just like, okay, I'll do it. It was still beautiful. Her artwork is just fantastic, and is like, if nothing else, she deserves to continue to do covers for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that second story was just a little bit less, which might make sense why there hasn't been another story after Demon Wars on that. But so good on part of it, not as great on the other, but overall still a fan of her artwork.
I did finish reading Once and Future, that series. It kind of finished where I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that, Mike.
I'm making hand signs because we're going to be covering volume 2 of that in a roadshow, the three of us, in the coming months.
Oh, okay.
We are.
Well,
I had you guys down for it because we did the first volume. So if you want, if not, we can.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just going to say that the problem that I kind of developed with it in volumes 2 and 3 has continued through the rest of the series. It got to be too much. They brought in Beowulf, and in addition to there was multiple versions of Arthur. They brought in Robin Hood. They brought in this. So apparently Kieran Gillen has this problem because the same thing happened with Die, which was that 20-issue series that was kind of like the Saturday morning D&D, where he can't just like kind of have this main story. He feels like he has to like add on all these little pieces to it, when if he would have like cut it in half, it would have been so good and so solid, and it just becomes so watered down. So Once and Future started so strong. That first volume, man, I was into it. I went out and bought the first issue graded. I just like, the grandma was like one of the greatest characters in comics at the time. And it just, because of how watered down it became, it kind of just was okay, so it went from being like a 9 down to a 5.5, 6 for me. So
okay. Well, I kind of had that feeling when I first heard that Robin Hood was in this second volume. And I'm like, Arthur and Robin Hood they weren't historically even from the same era, not by hundreds of years.
Well, and like I said, there's multiple Arthurs.
Okay, all right.
You got Robin, and Beowulf makes an appearance. Just he's random mythological creatures. So he's just like throwing everything in just at various pieces. So my advice is, focus down the story a little bit. Go for a really, really solid 10 issues instead of spreading out over 25 or 30. And just trying to find filler is what I kind of felt like happened. So.
Gotcha.
All right, Mike. Are you ready? Comic book trivia once again, presented by Blood Moon Comics. So we're up to the third.
This is the third, yeah.
The third, right? So I got 4 out of 8 of these. I should have gotten 6 out of 8. And maybe better, but I feel like a lot of these are going to be in your wheelhouse. So I think you've got a really, really good shot at this. So
just set me up to get knocked down.
I just set you up to get knocked down. So, but don't forget, you've got the assist coming from Shaad. So
I was gonna say, I like that I'm not really even in the equation. I appreciate it, but there's no pressure whatsoever.
So, question number 1. Who is Jake Lockley? I need to get the Jeopardy theme music going in the background.
Yeah. I can't say that name resonates or is familiar at all. And I want to say it's not a DC character. I think I would have heard of this. So I throw my hands up, Shaad.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that it's Iron Man's son.
So this is one of the personalities of Moon Knight. So Mark Spector has Jake Lockley and Mark Spector, and so that's one of the Moon. I missed that one as well, and I should have gotten that one. I believe it or not, I answered the Shroud because I thought, man, I see the cape, and I just had it all black instead of all white. So, yeah, so I was in the ballpark. So, all right, here's a softball for you, Mike. In what 1941 comic title did Aquaman first appear?
More fun comics.
There you go. Do you know what issue number?
73.
That is correct. I should probably give you a bonus for that. So, but more fun.
How about who created him? Ask me that.
Who created Aquaman?
Mark Weisinger.
There you go. All right. That is not one of the questions. I don't like this next question. I don't really think this is a good question. I missed it.
That's why he doesn't like it.
This is not the type of question I want to buy a comic book trivia book and get. Okay? So I'm just going to say the first two were okay. This one shouldn't have been in here. What was the cover price for the 1968 solo series Silver Surfer #1? Do you agree with me? Yeah, that's not a good comic book question.
1968 cover price for a Marvel comic.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're still at 12 cents. I don't think we made the 15 cents yet.
The correct answer is 25 cents. This was an oversized issue.
Trick
square
question.
Bound.
Yeah,
square bound,
question.
oversized.
Yeah, I didn't even.
I knew it was more. I actually put it up to $1, so I told you how far off I was.
Yeah,
closer.
Shoot. I should. Yeah, if I'd have thought of that.
All right. So 1 for 3. Okay. Question number 4. This supervillain first appeared in 1965's X-Men #12, and his powers come from the deity Cyttorak, spelled Cyttorak. In case the spelling, you need to see it as opposed to hear it.
Mr. Sinister.
That's a Spider-Man, isn't it?
No, that's but I'll let
but
you
it's
guys
wrong. It's what's
I'll let you guys come up with your answer together.
65, issue 12 of the X-Men, you said, or whatever. And you said it was based off what?
His powers come from the deity Cyttorak. Cyttorak.
God, I wish
I'll give you a little bit more help. It's a gem that gives the power.
Oh man. See, now I start thinking things like Eclipso. That's DC. A gem with. I should know this.
I did get this one correct.
I can't even think of an X-Men villain. I'm gonna have to pass.
All right. So the correct answer is the Juggernaut.
That is not at all what I would have guessed.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, he gets powers from the Crimson Gem of Cyttorak.
He is visually such a cool character, but I don't know much about him.
All right. So, number 5. Name the street in Greenwich Village where Doctor Strange Sanctum Sanctorum is.
Oh, no.
Oh, I thought you would get this one.
Bleecker Street.
What is Maine?
Bleecker Street is correct. Even though you didn't say your final answer, I'm going to give it to you right there. All right. So Bleecker Street is correct. So number 2, you got 2 out of 5. All right. You got to get 2 of these to tie me, Mike. So no pressure. I know you will get one of them for sure. So it's going to be close. So question number 6. Name the comic title and issue number in which the human alter ego of Manwolf first appears. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. We have recently read this issue. I'm making it worse on him by giving him the hint, you know?
Yeah.
I'll never get the issue number. I'm at a disadvantage on my lack of Marvel knowledge here, but okay. I mean, Manwolf. Oh wait, Manwolf. I keep wanting to say Werewolf by Night, but it can't be that. It's
one of the JSA JLA.
No, this is Marvel.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is why I'm not. I get why I'm not in the count. I understand.
I love how you take the heat off me, Shaad. Thanks. I mean, we didn't read any Moon Knight. Where did Manwolf first come around? I don't know, man. Dang it. I throw up my hands.
Throw up your hands. All right. Well, his alter ego is, oh gosh, now I forgot his alter egos. John Jameson, son of Jonah
Jameson,
who we read in Amazing Spider-Man #1. Whenever JJJ was complaining about the world needs to pay attention to real heroes like his son, not fake heroes.
So what was the issue that he first appeared
Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Manwolf wasn't an issue. It's his alter ego.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I totally forgot about that part.
Yeah.
Okay, so down the toilet.
All right. Okay. So here it is, number 7.
This is the gimme.
This one's a gimme. What is the name of the pool used by Ra's al Ghul for healing?
Lazarus Pit.
There you go.
I know that one too.
That is correct. All right, for the tie, and I'm embarrassed that I missed this one. Name the hero who is bonded with the demon Zarathos. Zarathos.
Bonded with. Oh God, I swore you were going to say the demon Etrigan, and I was going to get it.
That's how bad I missed this one. I forgot.
Okay, let's. Ghost Rider.
That is correct.
Oh,
so he pulls out the tie. All right.
Nice.
Congratulations, Mike. So
wow,
that's gotta feel good.
Me.
Yeah. Skin of the teeth.
That's right. Like I said, I didn't like that question about the price of a comic book. It's like, no, that's not a good.
I don't mind those, but that was kind of a trick question. I don't mind, stuff like that about the production of comics. Like, where were most North American comics printed? You guys would know that.
Well, Sparta,
Illinois.
Yeah.
Up until
like 90 something. Yeah.
Until they shut it all down. So, all right, who's got their phones ready?
I got it ready for a shake.
You gonna go? Who wants to go?
Go for it. You're ready.
All right, I'm right there. So
you're locked and loaded.
Ooh, I got a good one.
Captain America.
Captain America issue number 100. So I have a 6.5 graded copy of the Stanley written, Jack Kirby drawn issue of Captain America. Of course, this is the first issue of the Captain America solo series, because it was Tales of Suspense up until issue 99. And of course, at the time, no publishers or no grocery stores would take #1 titles because they wanted titles that had been around in a while. So a lot of companies would take on the numbering of a previous book and say, see, this book's been around for a long time.
Wow.
So Captain America, issue 100. But of course, this is the Cap gets his solo title. Because up until this point, it was a Tales of Suspense, if I remember right, was Captain America and Iron Man. So, and then of course, me being a Captain America fan, well, heck yeah, I have to own Captain America 100, and it's a very homaged cover for. You'll see that an homage to this character work all of the time. So,
yes,
hey,
that's a good one.
Yes, Captain America 100.
I'm just glad it's not ROM or Micronauts.
A ROM or Micronauts, Star Wars or Power Pack. Yes, something different. So I was glad to see
how the times have changed. Like all we want is number ones now on the shelf. And
well, that's all you get. That's all that sells is our number ones on the shelf.
Yeah.
I don't like seeing all number ones.
No, I agree. Yeah.
But even if they, like in DC, they didn't have these anthology titles like Tales of Suspense or whatever to hitch a ride on for numbering as much. But like Justice League of America had no number on it. Number one had no number on the cover. They had a lot of covers. I remember Dennis from Campus Comics showing me that once or telling me about that. He goes, you know why there's no number one on the cover is because they didn't want people to be scared off saying this is a new project or whatever, and it's not been tested. So, yeah.
Huh.
Okay, I'll go.
All right.
What the heck? I'm in my scanning mode.
He's shaking up his email.
Okay, let me get the spectacles on. Oh, this is a great one. This is Flash, Bronze Age Flash at its greatest, number 254 from October of 1977, which was basically my golden age of comics. Writer Cary Bates, artist Irv Novick, one of the most underrated comic artists. He did a lot of Batman, a lot of Flash. This was basically Flash. If you ever look up the cover, you'll see that he runs into the Flash villains are having a convention, and I don't know if you can see this at all. Not really, a little glared,
just a little bit,
but
yeah.
Yeah, you got Weather Wizard and Mirror Master and the Trickster and Captain Cold and all of these guys, the Pied Piper. They're like, oh, you just ran into our convention. By the way, we have an award for you as our favorite hero. It's just so cool.
I don't know that cool is the right word for that.
Cool is my 12-year-old self says it was cool. Yeah, I'm channeling that.
It reminds me of those JLA, JSA books where it's like the villains call the guys and taunt them. Ooh, we've done something bad. Come help us.
All right. Let's shake it. All right. This is Lady Mechanica, La Dama de la Muerta, issue number 3. So this is the Joe Bonita's series, Lady Mechanica. Before it was moved over to, I think, Image, maybe. This is when he was self-publishing, which I'd gotten almost all of them at that point in time. The only complaint I have specifically about the Lady Mechanica series is that it got overly wordy at a certain point. There was just too much. It was almost a prose book with some pictures. But otherwise, I loved Lady Mechanica from the beginning. Very much like a steampunk kind of set in, I don't know, 1800s, but had this half robot lady who fought off all these bad guys all the time. And so there's the what's the Day of the Dead kind of series that they did. I think it was there was like a 3-issue series that he did. He did a lot of like, here's this story in 4 issues, 5 issues, 3 or whatever, and then it would start over number 1 and do whatever they were just a bunch of mini series of that. And yeah.
And they put out a Lady Mechanica free comic book day book for like 25 years straight. That's an exaggeration, obviously.
Exactly.
But it was like every year there was a new Lady Mechanica number 1 free comic book day, but it was the same one as the year before that.
Yes, it was. They just recovered it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess one piece of news that we left off at the start of the show is that we've got a YouTube channel now. So for those of you who are just a glutton for punishment and want to stare at a logo for the entire time that you listen to us talk, you can go to youtube.com/@BergComics, and we'll have both Campus Comics Cast and Mike's Comic
No, it's right.
Roadshow. Okay, I had it right. So, Comic Shock Roadshow. All 191 episodes of this as we record, and 192 will be added hopefully within the next couple of days. And then, of course, you can email us at podcast@bergcomics.com. By the way, guys, don't respond to any of those spam messages that we're getting to that email address. Yeah, I saw one pop in today. So, Mike, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, where would they do that at?
Well, other than the podcast at Berg Comics is m.atchison90@gmail.com, or on X as Mike Atchison5. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, Shaad, what about you?
You can find me on Facebook at Shaad Schubert. That's SHAAD SCHUBERT. And I actually have a new video uploaded of some solo music. So go check out my name on YouTube or wherever. And the song's called 3 Weeks. I did a live recording for the Tiny Desk competition that's going on, NPR's Tiny Desk. So go check that out. And yeah, give me some love.
And I'm Scott Reed. You can find me at bergcomics.com, BURG Comics, which links to my social media and eBay store. And on Saturday, March 16th, you can find me at the Washington Square Mall in Evansville, Indiana, at the Southern Indiana Comic Book Show. If you live within 3 hours of this convention site and you like to dig through comics, there's going to be 19 dealers there with almost nothing but comic books. So looking forward to that show and hope to talk to you soon. Send us a message and we'll be back soon with previews. Is that right, Shaad?
Yep, that's right.
According to the latest report from FalsifiedStats.com, there are currently 12 million active comic book podcasts clogging up the internet superhighway, and 2.3 million new comic book podcasts are being created every single day. If you're looking for something a little different, then let me tell you about Mike's Comic Shop Roadshow. Mike travels the globe and visits comic shops along the way, talking to the owners, or really just whomever happens to be minding the store that day. And it's through these conversations that you'll meet some wonderful people and learn how comic shops are run in places like Murfreesboro, Illinois, and Liverpool, New South Wales, Australia. So check out Mike's Comic Shop Roadshow, a truly unique comic book podcast among billions of the same old, same old. Find it now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Mike, and I approve this message.
Strange stuff. After that, I got The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. I don't know the first thing about Scrooge McDuck, but I got Matt Martin, and I don't think Matt Martin. I've got him online. All I got to do is give him the microphone, and I sit back and drink a nice little toddy and let him talk, and we'll be done. 3 hours later, he'll be done talking about Scrooge McDuck. But it's a huge tome of a book.